couldn't have been better. I think I have been the luckiest kid ever.
Bronco was always just a very sweet, very willing to be obedient, very spiritual-minded young man.
It was an adventure every day, which was, what else can a boy ask for?
We moved here really not only because I wanted to do this horse thing and have the land and everything to do it, but to get something for him to do where we could work together and we could be tight.
So back in the halter breaking process, we used to bring in colts from Texas in the trailer load, so 12 or 15 at a time, and so we'd have to go throw a rope around one and then somehow get the halter on it after we roped it. You have the halter behind your rear end and you're leaning back as far as you can, and they're stronger than you basically, so they just take their head, and then pretty soon you're running, and the colt's running faster than I can run, and so then there's a choice. You either hold on and get drug on your stomach, or you let go. And so I let go. And so Dad said, okay, let me show you how to do it. So what happens is he grabs the halter rope and starts leading this colt, and he relaxes just for a second, almost to turn to me and like to say, this is how you do it. He kind of jerks him and he starts running.
That's like it happened yesterday. I mean, that's the only time that's ever happened to me in my life.
And he's got spurs on, and so we hear this chink, 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 chink. His feet are just going faster and faster, and this corral is kind of sloped, and it's springtime. And so all the manure and water is run to the corner, and there's this giant just puddle of manure. And so it didn't take long to see that the trajectory of where he's going and what might happen, this was going to be an epic event. Because he can't let go, because he just chastised me for letting go, so that's not an option. And so he ends up being drug on his stomach.
And I've been teaching those guys how to not let that happen forever, and then I go in there with this crazy colt, and that crap was that deep, and I went right through it, boy.
And all I see now is the manure, as my dad is going like an alligator. It's just spraying off each side of his face. And eventually he lets go and kind of just sinks into the middle of this where you can't see anything until eventually his head comes up.
And I ended up right in the middle of it, and I come up out of the crap, and I thought, I got to make this light-minded.
He kind of went like this, and you could see his teeth. So everything was green other than his teeth.
So I started laughing. I said, boy, that was a ride, wasn't it?
And we just started laughing after that.
They love to get something on me where they can laugh at me and get away with it.
And he was a good sport about it. But that was one of the highlights of my childhood.
I can whistle from the top of that stadium at a game, and he'll hear it on the field.
His whistle is really distinctive. In the middle of a game, even with at Oregon State, I swear I could pick out his whistle if I'd made a play, but that whistle was like approval.
The most that I would get out of him by a whistle that he would recognize, that he'd go.
The rest of the crowd could have been booing, and if I heard that whistle, it was like, man, I did something good, and it was reassuring, and that was it was comforting to me as a kid and a child growing up to know that someone did care about me, and that they weren't afraid to share their approval, but they weren't overbearing. It was from a distance.
I could remember one time when he was in high school, and he got a little short pass and took off down through the field, and guys were coming at him from all sides, and I let out a big whistle to him, and I could see him tighten up, and boy, he just went right through the guys and down and scored a touchdown. At the end of the game, Dad, I heard that whistle. Man, I put the heat on, and I went right through them all.
His whistle was kind of the way to me of like, yeah, I can do this, or just keep going.
You know, I think that sometimes as parents we can overdo the pressure that we put on somebody to be excellent or to play the sport even, because we want them to be there, because we want our boys to be on that team. We want to, you know, it's as much for the honor of mom and dad as it is for anything else. So I think if they have a real interest in it, then let's do everything in the world we can do to support them and help them achieve the best that they can do.
My dad, his upbringing and his was hard and work oriented, and my dad has tried really hard to, in his own way, growing up, to make sure I knew he loved me. And yeah, whistle to some might mean come. A whistle to me meant he loved me and he was pulling for me.